Welcome everyone to the Daily Slab for Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. I'm Nate and I'm here with your sports card rundown. If you like this video, please click the like and the subscribe button. Helps us get this video out to more card collectors like yourselves. Well, the first up we've got what's hot, and it's the NFL playoffs. Hard to believe we are already through the first month of January. Or the first month of 2023, almost done with January, and the NFL playoffs are almost done with the Chiefs having beaten the Bengals 23-20 and the Eagles having beaten the 49ers 31-7. Both those teams going to be playing in the Super Bowl on February 11th, I believe, the same weekend as the Burbank Card Show, which if you are going to check out the Burbank Card Show and you see me, stop and say hi. I'll be the short, bald guy with a beard. So if you see me, say hi. I'll probably be wearing some SlabStox gear as well. But that being said, those games, they were very good yesterday. Obviously, we had the Brock Purdy injury, and it just came out that he had a complete tear of his UCL in his elbow, which is unfortunate. If this was baseball, he'd be headed for Tommy John surgery. And be out all of next year. But it's not baseball, and he's projected to be back in 6 months, so we shall see how that goes for Brock Purdy. But that meant that they had to rely on Josh Johnson, who's on his 15th NFL team. That wasn't going to go well, and the Eagles took care of business, and then Josh Johnson also got a concussion, which is unfortunate, and Brock Purdy had to go back in and couldn't throw the ball more than 3 yards. And, of course, that is because he had a torn UCL the entire time. So the Eagles took care of business. Overall, I wasn't overly impressed by Jalen Hurts, but he really didn't have to throw. He was 15 for 25 for 121 yards. He had a rushing touchdown added in, a 30-plus yards rushing there, 39 yards rushing there. So he had a good game. Overall, I wasn't overly impressed, but you got to remember that 49ers defense is amazing, and not much they can do when there is, an offense that isn't going to do anything and you're on the field all the time. So the Eagles' rushing game was great. The passing was okay, but they ran a ton because they didn't have to pass because the other team couldn't pass and they were ahead. And that's how it goes in the NFL. Just grind the clock down and win your game and go home. And so that's what the Eagles did, and easy 31-7 victory. And prices after the game, well, Jalen Hurts went up, and Brock Purdy went down. You can see this Brock Purdy post right here. And, well, we have a Spectra rookie auto that went down 42% in 1 day, which is not good. And then you can see the other auto there that went down in the 3-week time span, 35%. That also is not good. But what could you expect there? Player so hot, gets injured, doesn't make the Super Bowl, and prices are of course going to go down, and they're going to keep going down because Brock Purdy is going to have better cards coming out, which means people that were spending $60 on Mosaic Base and then spent $20 after the game on Mosaic Base, well, I have news for you. That card's still probably going to keep dropping. Joe Burrow's like a $12 to $15 Mosaic Base card right now. Brock Purdy is above that. So once those other cards are out, those cards are going to keep dropping, and those autos are going to keep dropping until they're, $50, $60 autos likely. As for Hurts, looking at his Prism Silver PSA 9 here from 2020, and this is up a very, very healthy amount. We're talking 44% in the last month there, which is impressive from Hurts. And, of course, going to your first Super Bowl does wonders for a player's card market. And while Hurts, I said it before, I wasn't overly impressed by him. Still, he's making it to the Super Bowl as a starting QB in the NFL. Good job to him, and go Birds. Next up, we've got the Chiefs and the Bengals. Obviously, the Chiefs won 23-20. Late hit out of bounds on Patrick Mahomes, maybe somewhat controversial. Ended up putting the Chiefs in position to score the game-winning field goal to end the game, 23-20. Unfortunate for the Bengals, fortunate for the Chiefs. A lot of Bengals fans complaining about the referees at the end of the game, and there were some pretty bad missed calls on the Bengals earlier in the game that could have had an effect on the game. But in the end, Patrick Mahomes on a bummed ankle still had enough in the tank to beat the Bengals, and he had a great game, going 29 for 43 for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you can see his Optic Hollow PSA 10 here. And that's up 5% in the last month, which isn't a huge number, but if you look, it's up a decent amount in the last couple days, more than just 5%. And I've always had an affinity with this card here because his Prism Silver from 2017 was his base card, whereas the Optic Hollow, there's an Optic Base and then an Optic Hollow. So really, the Optic Hollow should be more rare, and it is more rare. The pop counts there. PSA 10 for the Silver is like 900 something. PSA 10 for the Optic Hollow is like 600 something. It is more rare, and yet it is way, way cheaper. So I'm always curious and always interested in this card here. And up 5%. It's not a ton, but it is something, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs headed to the Super Bowl. Now, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, on the other hand, Burrow, an okay game. He did throw 2 picks. He got pressured a lot. He got sacked a number of times. At one point, he got sacked 3 times in a row. 1 to end a drive, and then 1 on first down, and 1 on second down of the next drive. Not great. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals were still right there at the end of the game, only losing by 3 points to what was the best team in football the whole season. And while the Chiefs, they didn't have much to throw to by the end of the game, they still managed to pull it out. Marquez Valdes-Scantling with 116 yards, which was crazy. But Joe Burrow, we're talking about him. What's interesting here is that he didn't have a great game. It was okay. He led the game in rushing yards, but his Prism Silver PSA 10 had a slight uptick after the game. We're talking 37% in the last month, but you can see the uptick at the end there. That's after the game. There's a couple sales near the end of the game and after the game that sold for $3,000 or more. There was, of course, one sale at later on eBay that sold for $24.50. So, take this with a grain of salt. There was probably a couple people doing a little bit of like risky betting there, and it did not pay off. And who knows, those might get returned or just not paid for. So we'll see where this goes. We'll probably give an update next week. But as of right now, there was a slight uptick in Joe Burrow, and it is up 37% in the last month. So right now, not the time to be buying Joe Burrow. Just wait for it to drop, and then if you believe in him, jump on him then. Overall, I thought the football was great, and I am excited for the Super Bowl Sunday once we get through the Pro Bowl, which is always a snooze fest. So I can't wait to see what these card prices do of Mahomes and Hurts leading up to the Super Bowl and what people decide to do. Is it worth holding through? Because only one can win. Only one can win, and you're taking a mighty big gamble holding on through the Super Bowl if only one can win. So we'll check that out in the upcoming weeks. I'm excited for that. But that is our What's Hot of the Day. And moving on to our trender is Anthony Edwards. So, since the middle of December, the Timberwolves have been hot, and Anthony Edwards has been hot. They have gone 14-10 since that time, but in the last 5 games, Anthony Edwards has elevated his game to another level. So, in the last 5 games, the Wolves are 4-1. In that time span, he is shooting 46% or 54% on 22.5 shots per game, which is a lot of shots per game and a very good average. He is scoring 34 points a game. He's averaging 6.4 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and 1.8 steals. And not only that, but this 4-1 stretch has led the Wolves to be above 500 on the season and all the way up to 5th place in the West. And a lot of that is because the Wolves have finally figured out how to use Anthony Edwards. Karl-Anthony Towns has been injured for a while. Anthony Edwards has taken the mantle as the team's best player and go-to scorer. And I'm curious to see what happens when Karl-Anthony Towns becomes healthy again, if they are going to continue this, because I think they are probably served best by having Anthony Edwards be the focal point. But I am not in charge of the Timberwolves, and I don't have the conundrum of Karl-Anthony Towns on my team. So, I don't know what they're going to do, but right now Anthony Edwards is hot, and you can see it in his card prices here. You're looking at his 2020 Crown Royale Kaboom PSA 10. And this card is up a solid 16% and $680 in the last 3 months, with the most gains happening in the last couple weeks here. So Anthony Edwards has been great. It's nice to see, as somebody that likes small market teams like the Timberwolves, like the Bucks, like teams like that, it's nice to see when your best players are playing well and putting the team on their back, and Anthony Edwards has been doing that. And so I'm curious to see what happens when Karl-Anthony Towns comes back, but as of right now, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride, and card collectors as well are enjoying the ride and seeing the gains. And one last thing, what's happening today is I've got F1 breaks today and tomorrow. So if you are curious about F1 cards and you want to jump in, we had a great time last week. 2022 Topps Chrome F1 box topper super refractor was hit in our case last time. If you want to jump in on that and check that out, go to Whatnot and check out the SlabStox page. Bookmark the stream. Starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. It is always a fun time, and the Formula 1 cards look very nice this year. It is an enjoyable rip. So check that out there. It's not too expensive or anything. You won't be breaking the bank. And you should have a good time and hopefully hit some sweet cards as well. So the SlabStox Whatnot page at 6 p.m. Eastern Time to check that out. All right, thank you everyone for watching today's Daily Slab, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday for the next Daily Slab. See you everyone.